Yeah, in our last session we did about functions. That was it. We defined these functions here. So we do def, and then we give it a name, the function. I got one here called circle. Use parenthesis. We must have a colon here, and then we have this indentation here that means that this piece of code belongs to this function. And this one here is just half head is now a circle with radius 50. All right, and we said every time we want the circle to be drawn, or we call it. So I call my function and then run it, and it will then do my function there. Okay. What we can do now is we can start bringing in the idea of loops. So loops are basically ways of making our code repeat themselves. Another term we might say is iterate. Once again, it just means repeat or loop around like this. Okay, a bit like the circle is looping around, but in actual fact, our code will just keep going and keep going until a condition is met, until we tell it a certain thing will happen to stop it happening. Okay, so let's dive in. We're going to do, there's two types of loops that we will look at. The first one today is we're going to do they're for loops. That's what they're called, for. So not the number 4, but the word for. So to do that, we type for, and I'm going to then create something called, it's a variable basically, and this could be anything. It can be a letter, it can be a word. In this case, I'm going to do for x. Okay, so we think like in algebraic terms, for x, and then we put this in range. And then I'm going to put parenthesis, and then inside here I can then put a number, and that basically be the number of times our loop will run. So if I put in 10 in there, our loop will run 10 times. So after I've done that, I need to put a colon at the end as well, okay? Because I've got to, it's going to say, well, what am I going to run 10 times? Well, I'm going to get it to make my circle. So I'm going to call the function circle, and then I'm going to say, I'm going to then move half head, okay, and I'm going to move half head, let's go forward, and we'll just move half head 5. So what's this going to do? So for is telling Python we're doing a loop. X is a variable. I can call this whatever I want. I'm calling it X this time, and it starts in actual fact at 0, but you don't need to really understand that yet. We'll cover that later. And then in range, this must be typed exactly as it is here, in range, and then this is then saying for the loop it's going to run 10 times. Okay, so our condition is basically just do something 10 times. All right, and in this case we're going to get it to run my function or call my function circle, and then half head's going to move forward by 5 each time. And in fact, what I want to really do is half head. Actually, no, we'll just leave it like that. Okay, let's just run that and let's see what happens. Okay, so you see, it drew my circle, okay, 10 times, all right, and it moved forward every time it iterated, every time the loop went round, okay, it would draw my circle, then move half head forward 5, then draw the circle, then move half head forward 5, okay, and so on. By the way, if you want to, you can speed all of this up. So we could say before all this, we could actually speed up half head by doing speed, and then we can give it a new speed of 200 before it runs that loop. So we go run, and then that will make it a little bit faster. So when you do massive amounts of looping around and stuff, you may want to change the speed of your turtle, otherwise it could take a very, very long time to do that. Okay, so why don't you experiment with that? You can just copy my code here if you want. Like say that's all just as it is there. That's the number of times it runs. Like say this here, you can change this to B, C, I, whatever you want, Susan. It can be whatever. This is what we call a variable name, and we can change this to whatever we want. Okay. So run again. This time. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, and that is a for loop. Okay.